Yo, how's it going, folks? It's me again, your boy Tabo, and this is part 2 lesson of gradient. So I'm just gonna jump right in and take it from where we left off. Okay, so the next type of gradient that we're gonna create is radial. Okay, so we're gonna say radial, and we're gonna give it an ID of I'll say RGRD1. Just the radial gradient. That's what that stands for. Okay, and then so now we're gonna create the different stops. I'm just gonna copy this because yeah, lazy, don't wanna keep typing all the time. So this time I'm gonna change the colors, and I'm gonna make this blue, say purple, and crimson. Okay, so it'll go from say 50 and then 100. Okay, so now I'm gonna create a shape that is gonna use this gradient. Okay, so I'm just gonna duplicate this and then just do it like that, but I'm just gonna change the shape a bit so that got a bit of variation. So I'm gonna make it 150, say 150 by 150, and to the right then I'm gonna add an RX value. If you don't remember what an RX value, it is a value that you use to round the corners of your shape. So I'll just make it 25. So that's that. Basically I can just copy these values, or some of them. So some of them I will still change. Okay, so I'll say here 30. Then I'll say 50 by say 230, and then 50 by 420. Okay, and so in terms of the radial gradient, so for this one I'm gonna reference GRD1. I'll say RGRD1. Oh, okay, so we're good there. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna create 2 more radial gradients. And give it ID of 2, give it ID of 3. And so here what I'm gonna do is since in this one is pretty plain, so I'm gonna introduce some attributes, and these attributes are fx, fy. Now what the fx and fy represent is the focal point. First of all, before I go into that, I'm first gonna start with cx and cy. Okay, now cx and cy determine the center, the radial. So if I make it 0.5, basically the radial gradient will be drawn from the center of the object. So I'm gonna say 0.5 for now. I will change them again later to illustrate other points. 0.5. So let's leave it at that for now. Let's look at what that does. Oh, okay, my bad. I forgot to change this. Okay, for now, let's see what that does. Okay, so it seems to be no different from this one, even though I have given this value. By default, this will be 0.5. Okay, so what will make the difference is I'll say 0.3 so that you can see what that actually is, what this value actually influences. You see? In the beginning was in the center, so now I have moved it to the left. Okay, so I'm gonna then introduce other values. Okay, I will return it back to 0.5. Let's back to 0.5, and then here I will add fx, and then I will give fx the value of 0.1, and then I'll say fy, I will give it the value of 0.1 as well. Okay, now let's see what's gonna happen now. Ooh, that looks nasty. Now, in order to fix that, now that is being chipped like that because the radius is not big enough. So if I wanted that to work, then I would either have to move this like that, because it means that it's too far out. That's why it's doing that. You see, when I return it, then it still works. But if I wanted to stay in that corner, then I have to introduce another attribute, which is r. Now basically what r is, it determines the radius of the radial gradient. You will see the size change, and this will be an indicator that the radius has been changed. So I'll say 0.8. Now let's see what happens now. So now it's working. Okay, I think maybe I should go back because I think that was not so clear. So this is what it looked like before, and that's what it looks like now. So this is how you fix that problem. So this is the radius attribute, and this basically determines how big your radial can be, you know. So I can blow it all up to 1, and it just kind of takes over this whole thing. I'll say 2, and there you go, you know. So that's what that is. But I will leave it at 0.8, and this is the focal point. Okay, this is the focal point. Now when this was not there, you see this was in the middle. You can see this blue, like this little blue, this very blue center dot here in the center. This is what you're actually moving with this value. So when it's 0.1, then it goes all the way to the corner. If I make it 0.2, then here it is over here, you know. 0.3, you kind of get the idea, so you can see where I'm going with this. So that's what that is. So if you want to influence the focal point, because the radial is still in the center, it still draws it from the center, but it just changes where the focal point is instead of it being in the middle. So now it's shifted to this corner here. So you can create all kinds of cool effects with that. It's all up to imagination. Alright, let's do that. Not waste any time. Okay, so the next attribute that we're gonna add is fr. Okay, so I'm pretty much gonna use similar values, but I will change them a bit. Then I'll make this f into 0.2. Then I'll make this also 0.2, and I'll say 0.3. Over here 0.3. And then I will then add another attribute, and this is fr. Now fr, what this does basically, it enlarges the center of the radial. So just check it out. Okay, first let me just, before I do anything with it, let me just save this, and let's look at the graphic now. So it's basically still that, but if you once again look at this dot, you can see that it's over here. So now what fr does, it's gonna blow it up a bit. You see? So now you've got like the center point looking really big there. I can bring it down to 10%. Let me see if I saved. Yes. So that's what fr does. Okay, so when you look at all these values, fx, this is to influence the focal point. Cx, this is what determines where the center of the radius will be. So if you want to start drawing your radial from the center, then this is how you influence it. If you want to start drawing it more towards the left, then you'll see X like it is right now, it will be more to your left. And then if I made this into 5, then it would come down, you know. So this would be the center of where the radial will start to be drawn. And that's what these attributes do, basically. That's that. And what we had with the other linear gradient, the spread method, this also applies to these guys over here. So you can also apply spread method, and we will just also illustrate what that will do, the kind of effects that you can get when you use a spread method on a radial gradient. Okay, so once again, I'm just gonna copy and paste these suckers and do it like that. And so here we will say spread method. Say spread method will be equal to pad, and I will then copy this, and I would add it here. I will say reflect, then add it here also, and then I'll say repeat. Okie doke. Then I'll just copy this guy. Just change the value. Let me take it all the way down. And I'll just say 1.6. Wow, run out of space. Okay. What do I need to change here? Oh yeah, wait. Okay, so I will say this is 4. No, 5. And then 6. So there we go. So now this is the effect that we get. I think one is not working. Need to check that out. Okay, now there we go. So just played around with some values, and yeah, so this is what we get, folks. So in a nutshell, this is what gradients offer with SVGs. Got your linear, and these are the different attributes that you can play around with. So I hope that this was educational. Yeah, so this is it for the lesson, and I hope you enjoy this. Just play around with these things, get used to playing around with all the different attributes, you know, swap them, just see how far you can push the bar, and once you get comfortable with it, then you can move on to the next lesson. But practice is the key here. So just practice as much as you can, and have fun while you're doing it. So I'm just gonna leave it like this for now. So till the next lesson, love and peace, my brothers and sisters. I'm out. If you thought this video was good and helpful, please press that like button. For any questions or input, just remember to leave a comment. And if you want to see more videos like this, then subscribe to my channel, and I'll keep more stuff coming your way.